Kaltenborn edits the news.
Good evening, everybody. From Washington comes word that the President of the United States has once again reiterated the determination of this country to stay out of the war. That was the dominating note of his press conference today. On the war front, two reports, one from Berlin to the effect that 6 British planes attacked German warships at Helgoland, that fortified little island in the midst of the North Sea, which has been turned by Germany into a tremendously important advance base for operations in the direction of England. The 6 planes are said to have attacked in vain. No damage, the Germans say, and 5 out of the 6 planes downed by German anti-aircraft fire. The British agree that the planes attacked. They agree that a number have not yet returned, but there are no further particulars. It's quite probable that as the war goes on, we'll learn that defense against aircraft has now been developed to a point where an attack on a position that is well defended can be very dangerous for flyers. Certainly, that is one explanation as to why there have not been general attacks by either side upon the great capitals of the other. But today's dominant news is not military, and there is only one more military item of importance, that to report from the West Front, the French indicating that they have advanced a distance of 1 mile on a 5-mile front along the Moselle, and that they have now captured a total of some 50 German villages. However, let us remember that all this territory is still on that no man's land which lies between the Maginot and the Siegfried Line, and that so far no important attack has been made by either army in the west against the chief fortifications of the other's line. But the dominating news today is not military. It is diplomatic news. It is the announcement that comes from Moscow as to the tremendously important developments there. The Moscow radio this morning broadcast the announcement of the Russo-German agreement that has been signed by Ribbentrop, the agreement on which he is reporting to Adolf Hitler at the very moment that I'm speaking to you. That treaty, signed in Moscow yesterday, contains 5 articles. Let's glance at them for a moment. Article 1, it fixes the Russo-German frontier in territory formerly Polish, and then attaches a map which indicates that Russia is taking only White Russia and the Ukrainian territory, which was once incorporated with Soviet Russia, which Poland wrested from Russia after the peace treaties were signed in the disordered days that followed the Russian Revolution and the conclusion of the war. Germany takes the area that is peopled by 20-odd million Poles and adds these Poles to the Czechs and the Slovakians that she has already incorporated within her borders. Article 2 provides that the new Russo-German frontier is permanent and denies that any third power has a right to intervene to change it. Well, it will be permanent if Russia and Germany continue to dominate the situation in the East for years to come. It will not be permanent if France and Britain follow out their declared intention of restoring to Poland her rights and her territories. Article 3 asserts that Russia and Germany are agreed not to interfere with each other's adjustment of territories under their control to the existing state ideologies. That means that Soviet Russia is to have the right to go right on Sovietizing White Russia and the Ukrainian districts that she has now occupied. It means that she's going to go right on and establish communism in those areas. It means that Germany, on her part, is to have the right to Nazify the Catholic state of Poland. And we're going to hear, perhaps tomorrow, an important declaration from the Vatican as to what the head of the Roman Catholic Church thinks of that proposal. Article 4 provides that the two governments are agreed regarding the existing respective regimes as fundamental for their peoples. Well, that probably means that the communists agree that they won't proselytize the Nazis, and the Nazis agree that they won't proselytize the communists. And before this war is over, it's quite possible that they'll both find that they've got the same general ideas. Certainly, in the years preceding the war, when repeatedly I moved from Nazi Germany to Soviet Russia and back again with every passing year, I came increasingly to the conviction that there was but very little difference in the methods or in the ideologies of the two countries. They started from opposite poles, to be sure, but it seemed to me that each year they were coming closer together in their general attitude towards economics, towards politics, and in particular toward the rights of everyone who wasn't a member of the dominating clique that was ruling the two countries. Now, as part of this new agreement between Germany and Soviet Russia, the Deutsche Nachrichtenbüro reports, and this has since been confirmed by shortwave radio from Germany, as follows. The two countries unanimously voiced their opinion that it would be in the interest of all nations to bring to an end the state of war presently existing between Germany on one side and England and France on the other. Both governments, therefore, will concentrate their efforts, if necessary, in cooperation with other friendly powers towards reaching this goal. Should, however, the efforts of both governments remain unsuccessful, the fact would thereby be established that England and France would be responsible for continuing the war, in which case the government of Germany and the USSR will consult each other as to necessary measures. That is the first big blow in the peace offensive that is now underway. That's the offensive that had its effect in Wall Street here, that's had its effect in England and in France today. There are other agreements, one with reference to trade expansion, one that permits Russia to dominate Estonia, according to the agreement which was heralded this morning, which gives her naval bases the right to an army of occupation which practically eliminates Estonia's independence. And Berlin reports, as a supplement to the peace offensive, that tomorrow we're going to get a declaration of Russo-Turkish solidarity. It's to be made from Moscow. Well, I remember hearing one in Moscow just 10 years ago at a football game between a Turkish 11 and a Russian 11. And there was a declaration of Russian-Turkish solidarity on that occasion. They've always been fairly solid and fairly friendly, so unless the declaration goes beyond a mere declaration of general terms, it means exactly nothing, because it doesn't change the situation as it has existed right along up to now. So we'll have to watch closely the text of that declaration of solidarity. Now, what's the purpose of this peace offensive? Well, first, it's to split England from France. Second, it's to attempt to create divided councils in England and again in France. Third, it's intended to secure time for the next belligerent move to be made. Now, today, France, in vigorous terms, rejected that peace offensive. André Giraudoux, the French Minister of Information, said this in a nationwide broadcast. Today, the ruler of Germany has combined with the ruler of Russia to ensure peace in Western Europe. The massacre of Poland and the seizure of small states, as well as attempts to blackmail larger powers, are typical Russo-German methods. The Germans and the Russians forget that today is the anniversary of a solemn promise of peace in Europe given by Germany, Italy, France, and England at Munich. Today's events indicate the value of such promises when made by Hitler. The Allies will not yield to blackmail. The German price today is high, but peace is worth much, and so is a Pacific Germany. And there we get the unequivocal French declaration. Now, there's much more of a divided opinion in England. Hugh Bailey, president of the United Press, back today on the Clipper, cites certain elements in England who want a peace move made now. Here's the way he phrases it. There are a lot of influential people in England who would be in favor of giving any suggestions a good hard look before turning them down. The next few hours should tell. We may be heading into another of those big weekends when history is made on Sunday. Thus, Hugh Bailey, President of the United Press, who returns from Europe today. Now, what is there in England that justifies the idea that there are certain elements that are willing to do something about the matter of peace now? Well, Lloyd George, only yesterday, said this: I am sure the people of Britain are not prepared to make colossal sacrifices to restore to power a Polish regime represented by the present government. It has cut a sorry figure. That's a harsh thing to come from an ex-Prime Minister of Britain at this particular time when the disarmed troops of Poland are marching out of Warsaw. And he goes on and points out that, after all, Poland did include alien elements. And the British Weekly, the New Statesman and Nation, said, we are not the only newspaper to be inundated with correspondence arguing mainly that the USSR is effectively checking German aggression in the East, that the old Poland cannot in any circumstances be restored, and asking for what causes Britain and France are now fighting. There is a revulsion in every country, including Germany, against war, for who knows what. Thus, the New Statesman. So you see that the peace offensive is underway. It has made some progress. But unless the governments of Britain and France repudiate their every obligation, it cannot be made on such terms as Germany is now prepared to accept. Good night.